Yo! So anyway, I'm gonna start out by plugging this book. It's called The Book of Secrets by Osho. And I've been quoting it a lot. And the thing is that I was reading this even before anything in my life became unusual. And you know, it's a book that, like, back in the day I would have looked at this and been like, this looks like spiritual shit, you know? But the thing is that it's just, like, he's a crazy guy. Osho was a crazy guy. He just, like, did his thing, and then he, like, came to the US as, like, a guru-like figure and had all these followers, and then they bought him, like, 100 Rolls Royces because he liked Rolls Royces. And he would just drive through on his Rolls Royce through these, like, anyway. He was totally crazy, and what this book is about is 112 meditations. And if you think of it as kind of like a circle, and the way a lot of people talk about meditation, you might think it's about, like, sitting quietly or just, I don't know, just, like, not, you know, it's just like a technique. But the thing that he totally understands is that there's no technique. Everything is a technique for meditation, and nothing is a technique for meditation. Which is one of those answers that when you hear them, especially for the first time, you're like, this sounds like a bunch of bogus stuff. But it's like, the thing with meditation is, like, think of it like a circle. And inner peace or enlightenment or just finding that silence or whatever is in the middle. You can't get anywhere, you can't get toward the middle by moving along the circle. You have to just be on a point of the circle and learn how to move inward. And what these, if you can think of it, these 112 meditations are like 112 dots that form a circle, and he says all 112 of these can get you to the middle, or maybe just one of them can get you to the middle, or 5 of them or 6 of them. The point is that anything that you connect with can get you to the middle. And it reminds me of something Bruce Lee said in martial arts when he said all knowledge leads to self-knowledge. And I think he meant that in everything. He didn't mean that in just kung fu or martial arts. It's like the scientist who learns about himself through his science. It's about an artist that learns about himself through his art. It's about any person, I think, that invests themselves deeply in anything discovers that it teaches them about themselves. It doesn't matter if you're obsessed with whitewater rafting or obsessed with sex. It's going to start teaching you about yourself. And so anyway, and that's when the thing itself becomes a meditation. And in a way, these 112 are just 112 of what he calls, like, the most basic, the most proven in time kind of ones. Anyway, I did a terrible job with that, but you get the point. The one other thing I wanted to talk about was how I feel kind of crazy sometimes, because I was walking through Central Park with Allie, and I don't know, it's just like I see even more of see it even more when I'm high, but when I'm sober, I just see so many possibilities. And in a way, the way I think about it is that everything is already possible. Crazy things, like all the amazing things of the world are already possible. And the thing with human beings is that in our daily life, we have minimized what we see down to just like the narrowest sliver of what's possible. If this is what's possible, we see like the narrowest sliver of what's possible, and we think that's everything that's possible. So let me give you an example. You're like walking down the street. We were walking through Central Park, and this woman with her baby walked past, and then like a jogger ran past. So what are we doing? We're taking a walk, and the thing is, like, I might look at you if you were walking with me and being like, so what are your possibilities right now? And you might be like, well, regarding this woman with the baby, it's like I could walk past her without looking at her. I could look at her as I walk past. I could look at her and smile. I could say, oh, what a cute baby. I could turn to you after she passes and say, what an ugly baby. But, you know, there are a lot of things you could do. A lot of people wouldn't even describe that many. They just describe like, oh, you can walk past or you can make eye contact. But they would just describe like a limited number of things you could do. But the thing is that like you can do anything. Like you can do anything you want in life. And like for me, it's like, and this is what makes me feel crazy sometimes, is like I'll look at that, I'll see all these boundaries in a way that I feel like a lot of us create for ourselves. And it's like, in a way, there's that part of me that wants to just, for fun, like as we're walking past, you know, just scoop the baby up under my arm and just keep walking, you know, just keep, and it's not like I'm gonna steal the baby, I'm just gonna like walk with it. And it's like, my brain, kind of in the same way that you look over a bridge and a part of your brain's like, what if you jumped? What if you did that? It's saying that all the time about everything. It's saying it about this baby, it's saying it about that jogger, it's saying it about everything. And it's like, oh, you could go walk up to that jogger and make out with him. It's not that I'm even attracted to him or anything like that. You just could. And I'm not even seeing everything that's possible. But it's just, my slivers may be a little bit wider than average, and it already makes me feel crazy. And in a way, that's what I think, you know, we might, like the average person is like almost this, and I believe that everybody's kind of crazy. So they have their own ways of seeing the wider picture, but they behave in the narrow picture because they can feel the parts of them that are a little crazy and they don't want to talk about it. And I think, you know, if you're an artist, artists are totally guilty of the same thing. We see a very, very narrow sliver of what's possible. And like we see the experimentalists that are pushing that a little bit, and we're like, wow, they like invented something totally new. But the truth is like, all this is possible. Like we can do anything we want, and it's already there just waiting for us. Like nature's in the back just going like, uh-huh, yep, like you can invent something new basically every day if you just open your eyes to what's possible. But instead humans are like trying so hard to see beyond this narrow sliver that it's like, if you just relaxed and like put a tea kettle on your head and then started to try to walk on your hands and then took your pants off and then peed into your own mouth, you know, you'd suddenly be like, oh, yeah, I forgot that I was allowed to do any of these things. I can, like, life isn't stopping me. Life isn't stopping me from doing whatever the fuck I want all the time. And that's what's just so funny about it, is like creativity, innovation, all these like amazing things humans do. It's like just somebody that gets it a little more than anybody else and just notices the things that are possible. And they're like, I'm just gonna see if I can get away with this. I'm gonna see if I can just do this. And then they do it and we're like, oh man, you invented something. They didn't invent anything. They just discovered that reality is a little wider than what we think it is. And it's way wider. It's wider than we can possibly believe. No matter how crazy you think you can go, reality will match it, double it, quadruple it, and then go to infinity. It doesn't give a shit about what your limits are. It will just keep going. And so to go back to the book, like what I've started to do is read books by people that I believe are intelligent, and people that, and I mean, even that can be arguably a limitation, but find people that completely say shit that I'm just like, wow, that's crazy. Because if I can read Osho, who does things that seem maybe questionable or crazy, and start to see his own logic to reality, the things that he sees, I just open up a whole new chamber of my brain. Whereas if I just keep reading what I used to read, which was like literature, read things that are within the scope of what I already read, it just kind of like barely incrementally grows. But if I read Osho, it's like boom, like this whole other aspect of reality is open, and it's actually crazily interconnected with this other stuff you saw over here. So the more you can read wild stuff, the more you can do things that are way beyond what you usually do, it just like, oh man, it's like your wings are shaking out your wings because you can do anything. And so anyway, I'm tired of feeling that way, and so part of the reason I'm even making these videos is so that I can shake out the wings of being in front of people and being afraid of like what I can do in front of people, because you can do anything. And what's been wild is the more I do things that I want to do, the more I realize that like, oh, I'm not getting struck down by lightning for it. You can just do whatever you want. And like, how exciting is that? Like, how badass is life for letting you do that? So anyway, I just want to share that. Mwah.